Hey, what's up? Nathan here from PH Studios. Welcome back to another tutorial from the Photoshop series that's part of the TDCS. And last tutorial we discussed the basic grass texture, and this is one of the results we did. And what we want to do in this tutorial is to make it tileable. And I mentioned in the last tutorial that this tutorial will be tiling the graphic but also creating it more advanced. I'm actually going to split this tutorial up into two tutorials. So this tutorial is just going to be about tiling this texture. Now you can apply this technique to different textures, not just the grass one. And this is about blending in the texture to make it so it's a kind of a smooth transition as it's tileable. And I also added a levels layer to make it a little bit darker. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so now go ahead and expand the canvas size by 3 times the original size. So if you started at 64 by 64 like I did, expand it to 192 by 192, and that will allow 3 tiles wide and 3 tiles tall. Alright, so now we have a middle tile. Let's go ahead and change it from layer 0, the name, to working tile. Because you want to work on the middle tile so you can see what needs to be changed. Okay, so now let's go and create a new folder, and let's call this display tiles. And go ahead and duplicate this 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And copy. Select all the copies and drag them into the display tiles. So now we need to position every tile to the appropriate location we want. So I'll start with, go from the top to bottom and put it where it should be located. Because you want to fill this up to where it looks like it's an actual tile. You're actually tiling it. Okay, so now we can zoom out and see what it looks like. And that actually doesn't look that bad, but as you can see right around here, you can see horizontal lines because it's tileable. And if we zoom in, you'll see we have the top left one here, and then the bottom one here. So there's 2 things you can do. If we look at just these, let's look at this one and the middle one, the working tile. So just these 2. The top, middle, and the working tile. Alright, so as you zoom in here, you will see that at some point we have a dark point here and then a light point here. Now, if you want more dark points, you can go ahead and take your, you can do this multiple ways. You want to work on the working tile, though. So you want to do this by either making the top portion of the working tile darker, or the bottom portion of the working tile brighter at that specific point. Because you do not want a massively difference between one tile to the next tile. You want it to be a smooth transition. So what I'm going to do is I like to prefer more dark points. So I'm going to select this tile, and as you can see we just have all these bright lines right here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the pencil tool and make sure it's on the black. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to make it just a dark line. And then I'm going to change the opacity to whatever I think looks good. Then I zoom out to 100%. And as you can see, the transition is pretty, you can already see the transition there. But if I bring this up, it's a little bit more smooth. So the more I decrease it, the more smooth it becomes. So that looks pretty good to me. So I can actually go ahead and continue working at this opacity level. And I zoom in and do the same thing here, here as well. And this point is fine. As you can see, this point right here, that's bright. Then I bring this up. This point here, that's bright. So that's a nice transition. It's almost equal. So we will ignore that. And you can make it look kind of interesting too. Like I said, there's multiple ways to do this. And I just made it go outside there, so I'm going to delete that. You can use the burn tool if you want. You can, there's all sorts of ways to do this, but I like to use the pencil tool because I get more control out of it. Okay, so right here, this spot right here, I'm thinking I want to make that brighter instead of darker. So let's make another new layer. And let's change the black to white. The foreground color from black to white. Let's zoom in. And it was that spot right here. Right here. You can also use the zoom tool, but I'll just zoom in manually here. So it was right here. Alright. So I'm going to make all these brighter. So I wanted to do the brush tool here. And brush this as white. And on the same column, I need to scroll down and modify the bottom part because we're on the working layer. Alright, now change the opacity. Then we can even colorize it too. We just go to hue and saturation and colorize it. We lower the brightness, we increase the saturation, and we set it to a greenish color. There we go. A little bit more bright. Alright. Okay, now here's the complicated part. We have to delete all these working tiles, or display tiles. We need to select the working tile and the layers we use to modify and merge all of them together. So now we have a new working tile, and duplicate this 8 times and repeat the process. I'm a perfectionist, so I wanted to get this kind of perfect on the other example. I will not bore you in this tutorial on getting it perfect, but I think you can see what the concept is. And that might need a little bit more adjusting. It's not really as green as the other ones, so I need to adjust that. But for the sake of the tutorial, we want to concentrate on the smooth transition. Alright. Did I miss one? I guess so. Yeah, I missed one of the copies. Okay. Alright, so we still have that line present. So let's... you do not need to fill this if you want to. I just like to do it so I can get it all the way surrounding. It's a good idea to do that in the beginning. But as you see here, we just have these vertical lines to deal with. So you do not really need to tile it to the left and right because that's a very smooth transition. So we can actually skip those. Let's bring that up. Alright. So now, let's do it one more time, and I think you'll get the idea. So maybe we actually do need to increase this black area a little bit. I don't want it to make it a completely light green because I want to put some black parts in there. So let's go ahead and create a new layer, and let's make an exact color match of that single pixel there. And let's bring out the pencil tool. Leave it at opacity and fill at 100% because we want to go ahead and create a kind of weird looking design here. And that's still in there. Alright. Now let's lower the opacity a little bit. Okay. That kind of looks cool. We can do it even further back here. Maybe bring it down a little bit more. And then the same column area, we need to adjust it in here as well. So let's go ahead and create a nice batch here. Go ahead and delete that spot. Alright. Now we want to make another new layer. And it's same color, leave the brush size, but we want to make it about half that opacity. So let's say about 15 to 10. Let's choose 11. And go ahead and brush the outside areas of this. Again, we want it to be a smooth transition. And like I said before, I'm a perfectionist, so I need to actually modify in great detail. Alright, it looks like a nice dark patch of grass right there. Let's go ahead and select all three of these and merge them. And like I said before, we're fine with the horizontal, so let's just make one copy and let's set it above here. Okay. So there's a massive change here between this very bright spot to this spot. So let's go back to the working layer, which is the one below. Working layer. Let's make a new layer. Brush, we need to change this to the bright area. And let's go ahead and brush this part here. Alright. Okay, that actually doesn't look that bad. Let me just show you the burn tool, and then we'll just be done with this tutorial, because I could spend hours on it. Okay, so the burn tool will allow us to make a wide range of changes by using this range here as midtones. So if we select midtones and we start brushing with the brush tool, as you can see, it'll become much darker. And I like this dark spot, but I do not like that it's like a vertical line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some random brushing around it. And because I really like that dark spot, I like to have variety in the texture. So I'm just going to brush around here and make it a little bit more darker. Kind of more random instead of just a straight vertical line here. And go ahead and do the same thing here. Just bring out that dark spot a little bit more. Alright. Let's go ahead and delete this layer and move this layer above here. So you can just create all these dark spots here. You can make a lot darker. It's pretty dark right here. And as you can see, that horizontal line is almost gone. It was pretty intense before, but all the changes we did, it looks pretty good now. Again, a few tips. You want to make sure that you work on one single layer, so be sure to label it or remember it. All the copies are the ones you just want to be displayed, and the one that doesn't have copy in the name you want to work with, or just change the name to working copy or something like that. Alright, so now let's go to the dodge tool, and dodge tool does the opposite. It'll make things brighter. So we want to get rid of this patch right here and just make it a little bit brighter. Like I said, there's multiple ways you can do that. You can do it all with the pencil. And the dodge tool kind of makes part of the sharpen a little bit, it makes it go away. So you can either fill that in manually, again with the pencil tool if you want to, by setting a, going to the pencil tool, making it black, and then draw something here. And then change the opacity. To about there. And then select both those and merge them. Delete the top one and repeat the process. So there's multiple ways to do this. I'm sure there's several other ways. I prefer the pencil tool and the dodge tool myself. Dodge and burn tool. You can find those here because it gives me more control on what I do. You can just finish this up if you want to. You want to keep, if you look at the top one, you want to make sure that it transitions pretty nicely. So we still have that hard transition here. So another tip is, you're looking at the top one. You know that this dark spot belongs to the top one, but you only want to work on the working copy, which is the middle one, the middle tile. So I have to look at the same column, scroll down, and there's that same spot here. So just go to here and look at that spot, and let's go ahead and get the dodge tool out and make the brush size smaller, and let's go ahead and make that brighter. Alright, delete that one, duplicate, and bring that up. Now let's see what that looks like. So as you can see, that line is pretty much, you can still see it a little bit, but it's going away pretty nicely. If we duplicate these both and move them back here, it's not as present as the other one was. So we're making progress. You can spend hours trying to perfect it like I did, or you can just leave it alone if you prefer it that way. Now you kind of have to look very closely to see that it is a line there. And you want to bring this, either change its brightness level, you can dodge it as well, even though we just use the burn tool. If it's too dark for you, you can go in there and dodge it, kind of getting rid of some of the dark. But we want to work with working copies, so we just do it this way. Alright, and let's bring that up a little bit. Alright, so like 3 seconds using the dodge tool, and we already brought that massively dark patch that we created down a little bit. Okay, so that's how you make things tileable. And once we have the base texture done, we can go on and create more advanced stuff on that base texture. Okay, so just play around with this. I think you have a few good techniques. I'm not doing that. You want to be sure to work on the working tile for sure. You want to make it a smooth transition. So if you have like a dark gray pixel here right next to a light pixel, you want to modify that. If it's on the edges, you do not want like a vertical line or horizontal line displayed. So there's some tips for you. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and that you are able to make your version tileable. Next tutorial we will build on this and work on a more advanced grass texture. So I hope to see you next time.